Do not sunbathe with a ring on in just a few minutes. A woman's hands swelled like bear paws and the position of the ring started turning black. The paramedic asked if she was allergic to anything. The woman said no. Another teammate noticed something unusual. The woman had margarita burns, caused by a chemical reaction between citrus juice and alcohol under certain temperature. Seeing that the woman's finger with the ring had lost sensation, the paramedic decided to cut the ring off immediately. But Sinner's sister was not happy about it.
You cannot cut that ring. That is my ring, and I do not give you authorization to cut it.
The paramedic told her that if they didn't cut it off promptly, more skin tissue would necrotize and the whole finger might fall off. Sin suggested cutting off the whole finger then, as their mother had just passed away. But before she died, she gave the heirloom ring to Sin. Maura was very jealous of this, so while Sin wasn't paying attention, she secretly put the ring on her finger, leading to the tragedy. Just as the paramedic was about to cut off the ring, Sin stopped them again.
Sold it. Buyer's already paid me a lot.
While the sisters argued, the paramedic went ahead and cut the ring, giving each of them half, leaving the rest for them to sort out themselves. Whenever Sherry finished school, her mother would call and urge her to hurry home because it was about to rain. The reason her mother was so worried was that Sherry was born with a rare disease. Hearing her mother's constant urging over the phone, Sherry showed great impatience. Afterwards, Sherry and her best friend went to try out a popular hair salon. This salon was very famous because their haircutting technique was truly unique. The stylist immediately greeted them and had them sit down, then turned on a live stream. What followed was a visual spectacle, the salon's most famous technique, fire cutting. At this moment, Sherry was both excited and nervous. She had no idea that danger was approaching. The so-called fire cutting didn't use scissors. Instead, the tool was a flamethrower. The moment Sherry saw it, she immediately wanted to back out, but the stylist reassured her, promising that it was absolutely safe. Unexpectedly, at that moment, Sherry, out of extreme nervousness, knocked the flamethrower to the ground. A towel on the floor instantly caught fire. The stylist quickly rushed to extinguish the flames. As the smoke spread, it triggered the sprinkler above. Firefighters arrived at the scene quickly. Although the fire had been put out, Sherry was in bad condition. Her body was covered in red blotches. After questioning, they learned that she was born allergic to water. This piqued the captain's interest, as this condition was extremely rare, typically occurring in adolescent girls. They needed to dry her body immediately. At that moment, Sherry's mother rushed in. Seeing her daughter covered in allergic reactions, she was both heartbroken and angry. Sherry quickly apologized to her mother, watching her daughter being sent to the hospital. Her mother began reflecting on whether she had been too strict with her. The man could never have imagined that the fallen tree would eerily stand up on its own, pinning him firmly underneath. Just moments ago, a bird watcher was standing by a fallen tree, appreciating its roots. From afar, a park ranger sensed something was wrong, urging them to move away quickly. At that moment, a sudden gust of wind swept through, and the tree mysteriously stood up on its own. Firefighters arrived shortly after. Looking at the tall, upright tree before them, they couldn't believe it had ever fallen. Then a woman claimed to hear groaning sounds. The firefighters began digging around the tree, while tying ropes to the trunk, ready to pull it down at any moment. It was then that Chin spotted the man's foot. Reaching out to check for a pulse, though faint, the man was still alive, and used a chainsaw to cut away exposed roots one by one. Everyone prepared themselves. Together they pulled with all their might. The tree began to tilt, its roots slowly lifting out of the ground. Hen quickly signaled for everyone to take cover. The tree was successfully brought down. By then, the man had stopped breathing. The paramedic diagnosed severe internal bleeding. They gently placed him on a stretcher, started CPR, and used a defibrillator to deliver shocks.
Clear.
Conversion, I'm going again.
Clear. Normal rhythm, I got a pulse.
Oh, thank God.
Here's the question. Do you know why the tree stood up on its own? Sergeant Grant was escorting a car thief back to the station, but in the next second, the bridge ahead suddenly collapsed due to an earthquake. A car instantly disappeared into the gap. Experiencing such a situation for the first time, Athena immediately got out of the car to check. She saw a massive chasm in the middle of the bridge, and chaos was unfolding on the streets below. While calling for backup, she worked to evacuate the crowd. Reaching the spot where the car had crashed, she found there was still one survivor. Athena comforted him, saying the rescue team was on the way, and tried to move the man but failed. Suddenly, she smelled a strong scent of gasoline, and the car quickly caught fire. At this rate, the man didn't have much time left. She got up and started running, but it wasn't because she was afraid of dying. She was heading back to the police car to grab a fire extinguisher. Unfortunately, it was just a drop in the bucket. By then, the car had turned into an inferno. Even if it didn't explode, the man would be burned alive. Luckily, no casualties had occurred yet. The top priority was to extinguish the fire. Athena stood up and scanned her surroundings. A cement truck caught her attention, but with the workers evacuated, there was no key to start it. That's when she remembered the car thief she was escorting. He was her only option now. The thief couldn't believe it. A day when the police would authorize him to steal a vehicle with his tools in hand. He approached the driver's seat and quickly started the truck. He then aimed the drum at the fire as the cement poured out. The flames were instantly extinguished. Soon the rescue team arrived on the scene, and the incident was brought under control. The man thought he might be pardoned, but Athena said,
"Good deeds may get you into heaven, but the law is the law, honey, and once I put you in the back of my squad car, there's no getting out."
A pregnant woman's water broke, but she stayed calm. The Uber driver was scared she might deliver in the car and wanted to call an ambulance, but she refused. Suddenly, lightning struck the car, causing it to lose control and flip over. During the crash, the baby was forced out of her body due to the impact. When firefighters arrived, Captain Bobby found the umbilical cord exposed, but the baby was missing. Fuel was leaking from the car, so they couldn't use a chainsaw. Time was running out. Only 2 or 3 minutes remained to save the baby.
Where's the baby?
They're working on it.
Bobby climbed into the car to search and found the baby's leg stuck in a gap.
I got it. I got the baby.
Other firefighters arrived and used a crowbar to free the baby just in time.
I can't tell if he's breathing, but he's not crying.
The baby wasn't crying. Making everyone nervous, Bobby prayed and gently patted the baby's back until a loud cry came. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Hector was about to inflate a tire, but accidentally slipped, falling onto the air pump. The sensation of being inflated as a human balloon was nothing short of excruciating. Hector visibly began to swell, although the staff quickly turned off the gas. No one dared to move him. Hector was barely clinging to life. The firefighters carefully lifted him down. His breathing was weak, and his heart rate skyrocketed. Air had filled his stomach chest cavity and even beneath his eyelids. His heart and lungs were likely in critical condition. When they tried to pierce his skin with a syringe, it was like hitting solid rock. Nothing could penetrate. The oxygen nasal cannula was also useless. Internal air pressure blocked oxygen delivery. The pressure was causing his organs to fail. A catheter needed to be inserted to release the trapped air. The first step was to decompress his chest cavity. Buck located the spot and was about to make the puncture, but Ed, drawing on his experience, suggested a better location.
There's a decreased chance of injuring any vital organs. I've treated guys with collapsed lungs in combat.
The captain authorized Eddie to take over. Eddie got Buck to loosen Hector's clothes before he went in for the stab, and successfully vented out the air, restoring Hector's consciousness. The firefighters loaded him onto the ambulance. He was still passing gas nonstop.
Pressure's gotta go somewhere.
It always does.
Here's the question. If the air valve hadn't been turned off in time, would Hector have exploded? What dangers might one encounter in a gym? The instructor was leading the trainees in a cycle class. Under his encouragement, all the trainees seemed as if they were full of adrenaline. Even though they were exhausted, they did not stop. Due to the physical exertion, consuming a large amount of water in their bodies, they kept drinking the beverages provided by the class to replenish themselves. Little did they know danger was approaching as the instructor gradually slowed down. Everyone thought he was simply overexerted and needed rest. But to their shock, in the next moment, the instructor collapsed directly to the floor. This scene terrified all the trainees. They quickly called 911. Paramedics arrived promptly at the scene. By this point, the man had fallen into a coma. After an examination, it was found that his blood pressure was elevated. His heart rate was extremely high. They suspected it might be rhabdomyolysis caused by overexertion. But just then, Hen noticed his dry lips, indicating severe dehydration. The paramedics needed to administer saline immediately. However, the trainees were skeptical. As they had been drinking continuously during the workout, how could dehydration be possible? Just at that moment, a girl displayed the same symptoms. Soon, one by one, trainees began collapsing. The situation spiraled out of control. Sensing something was wrong, the captain quickly contacted dispatch for additional support. Upon further investigation, they discovered that everyone had consumed the same type of drink, Tot Tummy Tea, by analyzing the ingredients list. They were shocked to find that the tea contained 100 milligrams of vitamin B3. An adult's daily requirement is only 14 milligrams. Far below this excessive amount, it had far exceeded the body's tolerance, and they needed to be rushed to the hospital for treatment. This story reminds us, when it comes to replenishing water, there's probably nothing better than plain old water.